I caught my wife coming home at 3 a.m. reeking of another man's cologne. She didn't apologize. She didn't beg. She laughed in my face and said he treated her better than I ever did. So I gave her exactly 15 minutes to pack her things and get out of my house forever. But that was just the beginning. What I discovered 2 weeks later about our youngest daughter made her betrayal look like child's play. My name is Vincent Cole. I'm 40 years old, and I own a freight company here in Denver, Colorado. Started with one beat-up truck 15 years ago, hauled furniture for pennies. Now I've got 7 rigs running routes from Colorado to Texas, bringing in solid money. Built it from nothing, every mile paid for with sweat and missed dinners. Bridget and I met at a charity barbecue back in 2010. She was 22, working as a dental assistant, all smiles and energy. I fell hard. We married a year later, had Oliver 4 years after that, then Lily 2 years ago. Thought we had it all figured out. The transport business demands long hours. I'm up at 5, checking manifests, coordinating drivers, handling breakdowns. Some weeks I barely saw my kids awake. Bridget stayed home with them after Lily was born. Said she wanted to be a full-time mom. I worked harder to make that possible, thinking I was building security for my family. First rail warning came 3 months ago. I got home early, around 6 instead of 9. Found Bridget in the bedroom. Phone pressed to her ear, laughing in a way I hadn't heard in years. The moment she saw me, her face went blank. She said it was her friend Kelly. Hung up fast. Too fast. Then came the girls' nights, every Thursday. Book club on Tuesdays. Yoga on Saturday mornings that somehow took 4 hours. Our checking account showed charges at restaurants I'd never heard of, boutiques and neighborhoods she had no business being in. I'm not some paranoid fool. I trusted my wife. But when Oliver asked me why Mommy was always going out, something shifted in my gut. A 5-year-old shouldn't notice his mother's absence more than his father does. 2 weeks ago, I came home to find Bridget on the couch, staring at her phone with this smile. Secretive. Intimate. When I asked what was funny, she jumped like I caught her stealing. Just a meme Kelly sent, she said, locking her screen. That night, lying in bed beside her, I realized I didn't know my wife anymore. The woman who used to curl against me now slept with her back turned, phone clutched in her hand, even while sleeping. I started paying attention, really paying attention. The way she dressed up for errands. How she angled her phone away when texting. The new password on her laptop. Last Thursday, I told her I had a late delivery. Instead, I parked 2 blocks from our house and waited. At 7:30, Bridget walked out wearing a black dress I'd never seen, heels clicking against the driveway. She drove toward downtown. I followed her to the Continental, an upscale steakhouse. Through the window, I watched her slide into a booth across from a man in an expensive suit. Mid-40s, slick-back hair, confident smile. She touched his hand across the table. I sat in my truck for 20 minutes, hands gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. Took photos. Watched them laugh together like old friends. Except friends don't look at each other like that. Drove home. Put Oliver and Lily to bed. Waited. Now it's 2:15 in the morning, and I'm sitting in the dark living room, photos pulled up on my phone, listening for a car. Headlights swept across the living room wall at 2:43 a.m. I didn't move from the armchair, just sat there in the darkness, phone in my hand, heart hammering against my ribs. Car door slammed. High heels clicked up the driveway. Uneven, like she'd had a few drinks. The front door lock turned, and Bridget stepped inside. She didn't see me at first. Kicked off her heels, set her purse on the entry table, checked her phone with this little smile. The kind of smile that used to be mine. I clear my throat. Long book club meeting. Bridget jumped, hand flying her chest. Her eyes found me in the darkness, and for just a second, pure panic flashed across her face. Then she smoothed it over, forced out a laugh. Jesus, Vincent, she said, flipping on the light. You scared me half to death. What are you doing sitting in the dark? Waiting for my wife to come home, I said, not moving. It's almost 3 in the morning, Bridget. She rolled her eyes, actually rolled her eyes at me. Kelly and I lost track of time. We were talking about the new book, and you know how she gets when she's passionate about. What book? I interrupted. Bridget blinked. What? What book were you discussing tonight? I asked calmly, watching her face. Title. Author. Give me something. Her jaw tightened. Are you seriously interrogating me right now? I don't remember the exact title, Vincent. It was something about a marriage falling apart. Ironic, really. You weren't with Kelly, I said flatly. Excuse me. Bridget's voice went sharp, defensive. Are you calling me a liar? I stood up slowly, walked toward her, close enough to smell the cologne on her dress. Not mine. Never mind. Who is he? I asked quietly. Bridget's face hardened. I don't know what you're talking about. This is insane. The Continental Restaurant, I said, pulling out my phone. Thursday night, 7:45 p.m. You wore that same black dress. I turned the phone toward her. The photo showed her clear as day, sitting across from Mr. Expensive Suit, hands touching across the table. The color drained from Bridget's face. She stared at the photo, mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Where did you? She started. Doesn't matter where. I cut her off. What matters is you've been lying to me. To our kids. So I'm asking you one more time. And I want the truth. Who is he? Bridget's shock lasted maybe 5 seconds. Then something shifted in her expression. The fear evaporated, replaced by something colder. Defiant. His name is Derek, she said, lifting her chin. And he treats me like I matter. The words hit like a punch to the gut, but I kept my face neutral. How long? For months, Bridget said, and there wasn't even a hint of shame in her voice. And before you go all righteous on me, maybe you should ask yourself why I needed someone else in the first place. So this is my fault, I said, voice dangerously calm. I work 60 hours a week building a business to support our family, and that gives you permission to cheat. Bridget crossed her arms, and I saw my wife transform into someone I didn't recognize. You're never here, Vincent. When's the last time we had a conversation that wasn't about trucks or invoices or your precious business? I'm building something for us, I shot back. For Oliver and Lily. So they have stability, a future. They need a father, Bridget interrupted. Not a paycheck. And I need a husband who actually sees me. Don't you dare turn this around, I said, stepping closer. I see you just fine. Saw you at the Continental with your hands all over another man. Saw you lie in my face about book club. So tell me, Bridget, how long were you planning to keep this going? She flinched, but recovered fast. As long as I needed to. Derek makes me feel alive again. He listens when I talk. He doesn't treat me like some appliance that's just supposed to be there when it's convenient. The name Derek hit me like acid. She said it so casually, like this man was just another normal part of her life. Does he know you have 2 kids at home? I asked quietly. Does he know Oliver asked me yesterday why Mommy doesn't play with him anymore? That got her. Bridget's face flickered with something, guilt maybe, before the walls went back up. Don't bring the kids into this, she said. You brought them into it the second you started sneaking around. I fired back. You think they don't notice? Oliver's 5 years old, and he knows something's wrong. Bridget's phone buzzed on the entry table. Her eyes darted toward it instinctively. I moved faster, grabbed it before she could. Give that back, Bridget demanded, reaching for it. I held it out of reach, looked at the screen. A text from Derek, with a heart emoji. Miss you already. When can I see you again? My stomach turned. He's texting you at 3 in the morning. How romantic. Vincent, give me my phone, Bridget said, voice rising. You have no right. I have every right, I said, voice hard as steel. I'm your husband. Or did you forget that when you were in his bed? Her face went bright red. How dare you? Answer the question, I demanded. Did you sleep with him? Silence filled the room. Bridget stood there, chest heaving, eyes blazing with defiance and something else. Shame, maybe. Or maybe just anger at getting caught. Yes, she finally said, lifting her chin. Multiple times. And it was better than anything you've given me in years. The words were designed to hurt, and they did. But I didn't let it show. Just nodded slowly, processing the full scope of her betrayal. Pack your things, I said quietly. You're leaving. Bridget laughed, sharp and mocking. Excuse me? This is my house too, Vincent. You can't just kick me out. Watch me. You're being ridiculous, Bridget said, but I heard the uncertainty creeping into her voice. We need to talk about this like adults. Adults don't cheat on their spouses, I said flatly. Adults don't lie to their kids. You want to be with Derek? Fine. Go be with him. But you're not doing it under my roof. Bridget's expression shifted between rage and disbelief. You can't seriously be throwing me out at 3 in the morning. Where am I supposed to go? Call Derek, I suggested, tossing her phone back to her. I'm sure he'd love to have you. She caught it, fumbling slightly. Vincent, please. Can we just calm down and discuss this tomorrow? The kids are sleeping upstairs. Don't. I cut her off, voice dropping to something cold and final. Don't you dare use our children as an excuse now. You didn't think about them when you were betraying your family with him. Bridget's face went white, then red. You're unbelievable. You think you're so perfect, don't you? Working all the time, barely home. And when you are here, you're exhausted or stressed. I was lonely, Vincent. I was drowning, and you didn't even notice. So you decided to have an affair instead of talking to me. I asked. Instead of suggesting counseling or telling me you were unhappy, you just went straight to betrayal. I tried talking to you. Bridget shot back. You never listened. Every conversation ended with you checking your phone or worrying about some delivery schedule. That's garbage and you know it, I said. I asked you every single day how you were doing. You always said fine. You lied to me every single day for 4 months while you were sleeping with him. Her jaw clenched. Maybe I lied because you wouldn't have cared anyway. That was it. The final straw. I walked to the coat closet, pulled out a suitcase we used for vacations, threw it at her feet. You have 20 minutes, I said. Pack what you need. The rest we'll figure out through lawyers. Bridget stared at the suitcase, then at me. You're not serious. I've never been more serious in my life, I replied. 20 minutes. Starting now. Vincent. 19 minutes, I said, checking my watch. Something in my tone must have convinced her I meant it. Bridget grabbed the suitcase, fury radiating off her as she stomped toward our bedroom. I stood there in the living room, listening to her bang around upstairs, throwing clothes and toiletries together. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding. But my resolve was solid as concrete. Footsteps on the stairs made me turn. Oliver stood there in his dinosaur pajamas, rubbing his eyes, looking confused and scared. Daddy, he said quietly, why is Mommy mad? I knelt down fast, putting myself at Oliver's eye level. Behind me, I could hear Bridget's footsteps stop on the stairs. Hey, buddy, I said softly, forcing my voice to stay calm. Mommy's not mad. She's just packing some clothes for a trip. Oliver rubbed his eyes again, looking past me toward the stairs where Bridget stood frozen. Is Mommy going away? Just for a little while, I said, heart breaking at the confusion in his face. But you and Lily are staying here with me. We're going to have a fun weekend together. I want Mommy, Oliver said, lower lip trembling. Bridget moved down the stairs, and I stood up, blocking her path to Oliver with my body. She looked at our son, and for the first time tonight, genuine emotion showed on her face. Guilt, maybe. Regret. But it was too late for that. Oliver, sweetheart, Bridget said, voice catching. Go back to bed. Mommy will come say good night in a minute. You'll do no such thing, I said quietly, just loud enough for her to hear. You're leaving. Now. Bridget's eyes flashed. He's my son, Vincent. You can't keep me from. Watch me. I interrupted. You made your choice tonight. You chose Derek over this family. Now live with it. Oliver started crying, the kind of confused tears that come when kids know something's very wrong but don't understand what. I picked him up, held him against my chest. Sure, it's okay, I murmured into his hair. Everything's going to be okay. Bridget reached out like she wanted to touch him, but I turned away, carrying Oliver toward the stairs. Vincent, Bridget started. That's not even my name, I said without looking back. Finish packing. Be gone in 15 minutes. Or, I'm calling the police and showing them those photos. I'm sure they'd love to hear about how you abandoned your children to sleep with another man. I didn't wait for her response. Carried Oliver up to his room, laid him back in his bed, pulled the covers up to his chin. His tears had slowed, but his eyes were still wide and scared. Where's Mommy going? He asked again. I smoothed his hair back, choosing my words carefully. Mommy made some grown-up mistakes, buddy. She needs to go think about them for a while. But I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Promise, Oliver whispered. I promise, I said, and I meant it with everything in me. Now close your eyes and get some sleep. Tomorrow we'll make pancakes for breakfast. The Mickey Mouse ones you like. I got a tiny smile. Oliver closed his eyes, and I sat there on the edge of his bed until his breathing evened out. Downstairs, I heard the front door open and close. Car engine starting. Taillights fading down the street. Bridget was gone. I sat there in Oliver's room for another 10 minutes, making sure he was really asleep before heading back downstairs. The house felt different now. Emptier, but also cleaner somehow. Like a poison had been drained out. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. You're going to regret this. I'll take everything. The house, the business, the kids. You'll have nothing. Bridget. Texting from Derek's phone probably. I stared at the message for a long moment, then blocked the number. Let her try. Morning came too fast. Oliver woke me up at 6:30, bouncing on my bed asking about the promised pancakes. I'd barely slept 3 hours, but I dragged myself up, forced a smile, and headed to the kitchen. Lily was already awake in her crib, babbling to her stuffed elephant. I changed her diaper, got her dressed, settled her in the high chair while Oliver climbed onto his stool at the kitchen counter. Where's Mommy? Oliver asked again, watching me mix pancake batter. She's at Grandma Diane's house. I lied, hating myself for it. She needed to help Grandma with something. It was weak, but Oliver seemed to accept it. For now, I made the pancakes, served them up with syrup and strawberries, watched my kids eat while my mind raced through everything that needed to happen. Lawyer, custody arrangement, protecting my business, the house. My phone rang. Walter Green, Bridget's father. I stepped into the living room to answer. Vincent. Walter's voice was gruff, serious. Diane just called me. Said Bridget showed up at our house at 4 this morning, crying about you kicking her out. That what she told you? I asked, keeping my voice level. That's what she said, Walter confirmed. But I've known my daughter her whole life, and I know when she's lying. So I'm asking you straight. What really happened? I respected Walter. Always had. He was a retired construction foreman, straight shooter, no-nonsense kind of man. Exactly the type who'd want the truth, even if it hurt. She's been having an affair, I said bluntly. For months. I caught her last night, confronted her with photos. She admitted everything, tried to blame me for working too much. I told her to leave. Silence on the other end. Long enough that I thought the call might have dropped. Walter, I said. I'm here, he said finally. Just trying to wrap my head around this. You're certain? You have proof. Photos. Text messages. Restaurant receipts. I followed her Thursday night. Watched her have dinner with him. Private investigator, could get more if needed. Another pause. The kids. With me. I said. Oliver knows something's wrong, but not what. Lily's too young to understand. I'm keeping them here. Keeping their routine normal as possible. Good, Walter said, and there was approval in his voice. That's the right call. Listen, Vincent, I need to tell you something. Diane's going to take Bridget's side in this. She already is. Called me this morning saying you're being cruel, that you should forgive her, that marriages go through rough patches. This isn't a rough patch, I said. This is betrayal. I know that. And you know that, Walter agreed. But Diane's going to push hard for you to take her back. She's already talking about coming over there to get the kids, saying Bridget needs them. My grip tightened on the phone. That's not happening. I know, Walter said. And I'm on your side here. I'll do what I can to keep Diane from making this worse. But you need a lawyer up, son. Today. Because if I know my wife, she's already convincing Bridget to go after everything you've got. Walter's warning came true faster than I expected. Sunday afternoon, 2 days after I kicked Bridget out, Diane Green showed up at my door with Bridget in tow. I was in the backyard with Oliver and Lily, pushing them on the swing set, when I heard the doorbell. Through the fence, I could see Diane's silver Lexus in my driveway. Stay here, buddy, I told Oliver. Keep an eye on your sister for a minute. I walked around to the front, and there they were. Diane stood on my porch in her church clothes, arms crossed, face set in stone. Bridget hung back by the car, wearing sunglasses despite the overcast sky, probably hiding swollen eyes. Diane, I said, not opening the door. What can I do for you? You can let me see my grandchildren, Diane said sharply. And you can stop this nonsense with my daughter. The kids are fine, I said. They're playing in the backyard. And what happened between Bridget and me isn't nonsense. Diane's face reddened. Vincent Cole, you listen to me. I've been married to Walter for 38 years. Marriages have problems. Couples work through them. You don't just throw away a family because of one mistake. One mistake. I repeated, feeling my jaw tighten. She had an affair for 4 months, Diane. She lied to me, to the kids, to everyone. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern of choices. She made an error in judgment, Diane insisted. But she's sorry. She wants to come home, work on the marriage. You're being stubborn and cruel. Bridget moved closer, taking off her sunglasses. Her eyes were indeed swollen and red. Vincent, please. Can we just talk? I miss Oliver and Lily. I miss you. You should have thought about that before you slept with Derek, I said flatly. Diane's face twisted with disapproval. There's no need for that language. And frankly, you bear some responsibility here too. Bridget told me how much you work, how you're never home. A woman has needs, Vincent. Emotional needs. My hands clenched into fists. So it's my fault she cheated? Is that what you're saying? I'm saying marriage takes two people, Diane said. And maybe if you'd been a better husband, she wouldn't have needed to look elsewhere for companionship. That did it. Something inside me snapped. Get off my property, I said, voice low and dangerous. Right now. Diane blinked, taken aback. Excuse me. You heard me, I said. You come to my house, insult me, blame me for your daughter's infidelity, and expect me to just take it? No. Leave. Now. I want to see my grandchildren, Diane demanded. And I want a faithful wife. I shot back. Guess we're both disappointed. The kids are staying with me. When I'm ready, I'll arrange supervised visits. Until then, you're not welcome here. Bridget stepped forward. Vincent, you can't keep my children from me. I have rights. So do I said. And right now, my right is to protect them from the chaos you created. You want to see them? Get a lawyer. We'll let the courts decide. Diane's face went purple with rage. Walter will hear about this. This is unacceptable. Walter already knows, I said. Call me yesterday. Unlike you, he actually wanted to hear the truth instead of just defending his daughter. That struck home. Diane's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Monday morning, I'm filing for divorce. I continued. I'm asking for full custody based on parental abandonment and adultery. Bridget can fight it if she wants, but she's going to lose. Diane and Bridget left, tires screeching as they pulled out of my driveway. I stood there for a moment, hands still shaking with adrenaline, before heading back to the kids. Oliver looked up from the sandbox. Was that Mommy? Yeah, buddy, I said, kneeling beside him. But she had to go. When is she coming back? Oliver asked, and the hope in his voice broke my heart. I don't know yet, I said honestly. But you've got me. That's not changing. That night, after I got both kids bathed and in bed, my phone rang. Walter again. Diane just left here in a fury. Walter said without preamble. Told me you kicked her out, refused to let her see the kids, and were being completely unreasonable. That what she said? I asked tiredly. That's her version. Walter confirmed. Now I want yours. I told him everything. Diane blaming me, defending Bridget's affair, demanding access to the children like she had some right to override my decisions as their father. Walter was quiet for a long moment. Then he sighed heavily. Vincent, I need to tell you something, he said. Something I probably should have told you years ago. This isn't Bridget's first affair. My blood ran cold. What? She had one in college, Walter said. Cheated on her boyfriend at the time, a good kid named Tom. Broke his heart. Diane swept it under the rug. Said it was just Bridget being young and confused. Made excuses for her. Why didn't you tell me? I asked, feeling betrayed all over again. Because I hoped she'd grown up, Walter said, and there was genuine regret in his voice. I hoped marriage and kids would change her. I was wrong. And I'm sorry, son. I'm sorry I didn't warn you. I sat down hard on the couch, processing this information. She's done this before. And Diane covered for her. Diane enables her, Walter said bluntly. Always has. Makes excuses, blames everyone else, never holds Bridget accountable. It's why our daughter is the way she is. What am I supposed to do with this information? I asked. Use it, Walter said. Tom might be willing to testify about Bridget's character if it comes to a custody hearing. And Vincent, I want you to know something else. When you file for divorce, when you fight for those kids, I'm testifying on your behalf. I sat up straight. You testify against your own daughter? I testify for my grandchildren, Walter corrected. Oliver and Lily need stability. They need a parent who puts them first. Right now, that's you. Bridget's proven she can't be trusted. And I'll be determined not to let Diane manipulate the courts into giving custody to someone who abandoned her kids for an affair. My throat tightened with emotion. Walter, I don't know what to say. Don't say anything, he said gruffly. Just be the father those kids need. And get yourself a good lawyer. I'm recommending Richard Palmer. He's tough, doesn't take nonsense, and he owes me a favor. I'll call him tomorrow. Tell him to expect you. Thank you. I managed. One more thing, Walter said. Diane's going to make your life hell. She's already talking about getting a lawyer for Bridget, going after your business, the house, everything. She wants to punish you for embarrassing her daughter. Let her try, I said. That's the spirit, Walter said with approval. You're a good man, Vincent. Better than Bridget deserved. Those kids are lucky to have you. After we hung up, I sat in the quiet house, feeling something shift. I wasn't alone in this fight. I had Walter in my corner, and that made all the difference. 3 weeks into the divorce proceedings, my lawyer Richard Palmer called with news that stopped my heart. Vincent, we need to talk about something sensitive, Richard said. During discovery, Bridget's lawyer submitted medical records. There's something in there about a pregnancy termination from 18 months ago. I sat down hard. What? Bridget was never pregnant 18 months ago. According to the records, she was, Richard said carefully, 8 weeks along. Had a termination at a clinic in Boulder. You didn't know? My mind raced back. 18 months ago, Lily would have been 6 months old. Bridget had been distant then, said it was postpartum issues. I believed her, given her space. She never told me. I said quietly, Are you saying? I'm saying the timeline is suspicious, Richard interrupted. If she was already involved with Derek 18 months ago, there's a possibility that pregnancy wasn't yours. And Vincent, there's something else. The medical records show the clinic asked if she wanted paternity confirmation before the procedure. She declined. The implications hit me like a freight train. She killed his baby. We don't know that for certain, Richard said, but it's worth investigating. And Vincent, I hate to ask this, but have you considered the possibility that Lily might not be yours either? The world tilted sideways. Lily, my baby girl. The thought that she might not be mine felt like someone had reached into my chest and squeezed. Get the DNA test ordered, I heard myself say. For Lily, I need to know. The next week was the longest of my life. I took Lily to the clinic, let them swab her cheek, gave my own sample. Oliver was definitely mine, no question. He looked just like me, had my mannerisms, everything. But Lily had Bridget's features. I'd never questioned it before. When the results came back, Richard called me into his office. The envelope sat on his desk. You want me to open it? Richard asked gently. I shook my head, reached for it with trembling hands. Tore it open. Read the results. Probability of paternity, 0%. The paper slipped from my fingers. Lily wasn't mine. 2 years of loving her, caring for her, being her father, and she wasn't mine. Vincent, Richard said quietly. I'm sorry. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. The betrayal had just reached a whole new level. Bridget hadn't just cheated on me. She'd let me raise another man's child, never said a word, let me bond with Lily knowing the truth. This changes everything, Richard said. We can use this in court. Prove she's been deceiving you for years, not just months. The judge will. I don't care, I interrupted, voice rough. Richard blinked. What? I don't care what the DNA says, I said, looking up at him. Lily is my daughter. I've been her father since the day she was born. I'm not abandoning her because of tests. Vincent, legally you have no obligation. I don't care about legally, I said firmly. That little girl calls me daddy. She runs to me when she's scared. I'm the one who gets up with her at night, who makes her breakfast, who kisses her scraped knees. Biology doesn't change that. Richard sat back, studying me. You're sure about this? Because once we proceed with you claiming parental rights to a child that's not biologically yours, it complicates everything. I'm sure, I said. Lily stays with me. I want full custody of both kids. And I want Bridget to know exactly what I know. I want her to face what she did. Richard nodded slowly. All right, then let's burn her world down. The custody hearing happened on a cold morning in November, 4 months after I kicked Bridget out. The courtroom was sparse, clinical. Judge Patricia Hendricks presided, a stern woman in her 60s with zero tolerance for nonsense. Bridget sat at the defendant's table with her lawyer, Diane beside her for support. She lost weight, looked haggard. Good. Walter sat behind me in the gallery, moral support without saying a word. Richard stood up when called. Your Honor, we're seeking primary custody of both minor children based on the respondent's ongoing infidelity, abandonment of parental duties, and a pattern of deception spanning years. Bridget's lawyer, a slick guy named Patterson, objected immediately. Your Honor, Mrs. Cole made a mistake in her marriage. but she's a devoted mother who... A devoted mother doesn't abandon her children for an affair, Richard interrupted. And she certainly doesn't lie about the paternity of one of those children. That got everyone's attention. Bridget's face went white. Richard submitted the DNA results as evidence. Your Honor, the younger child, Lily Cole, is not biologically Mr. Cole's daughter. Mrs. Cole has known this for 2 years and never disclosed it. Additionally, medical records show she terminated a pregnancy 18 months ago, also likely from the affair partner, without ever informing her husband. Judge Hendricks looked at Bridget with barely concealed disgust. Is this true, Mrs. Cole? Bridget's mouth opened and closed. Patterson whispered frantically to her. Finally, she nodded. Yes, Your Honor, she said quietly. But I love both my children. You love them so much you let your husband raise another man's child without telling him. Judge Hendricks interrupted. You love them so much you terminated a pregnancy and never said a word. Mrs. Cole, I've heard a lot of things in this courtroom, but this is among the most egregious. Diane stood up in the gallery. Your Honor, my daughter made mistakes, but... Sit down, ma'am, Judge Hendricks said sharply. You're not a party to these proceedings. Then Walter stood up. Your Honor, may I speak? Judge Hendricks looked at him. And you are? Walter Green, the respondent's father, Walter said. And I'm here to testify on behalf of Vincent Cole. Bridget's head whipped around, shock and betrayal written all over her face. Dad, what are you doing? What I should have done years ago, Walter said. Holding you accountable. He turned to the judge. Your Honor, my daughter has a history of infidelity going back to college. I have documentation, a witness who can testify to her previous affair. This isn't a one-time mistake. It's a pattern. The hearing lasted 2 hours. By the end, Judge Hendricks had heard enough. I'm awarding primary physical custody of both children to Mr. Cole, she announced. Mrs. Cole will have supervised visitation every other weekend until she completes a parenting course and demonstrates stability. Mr. Cole has shown himself to be the stable, devoted parent these children need. Bridget broke down crying. Diane tried to comfort her, shooting me looks of pure hatred. I didn't care. I had my kids. Outside the courthouse, Walter shook my hand. You did good, son. Couldn't have done it without you, I said. Those kids are lucky to have you, Walter said. Including Lily. Biology be damned. You're her father. 9 months later, life had settled into a new normal. Oliver was in first grade, thriving. Lily was in preschool 2 days a week. The freight business was doing better than ever. I'd bought Bridget out of her half, took a loan to do it, but it was worth it to have full control. Bridget saw the kids every other weekend at Walter's house, supervised by him. She'd moved in with Derek, but apparently that relationship was falling apart too. Shocker. One Saturday afternoon, I was at the park with both kids when I heard a familiar voice. Vincent. I turned. Rachel Stone stood there, looking almost exactly like she had 7 years ago. Same warm smile, same kind eyes. Rachel, I said, genuinely surprised. Wow, it's been forever. I heard about the divorce, she said carefully. I'm sorry you went through that. Don't be, I said. Best thing that could have happened. Freed me up to actually live. Rachel smiled. These your kids? Yeah, Oliver and Lily, I said, watching them on the swings. Best part of my life. We talked for 20 minutes, easy and comfortable. She was divorced too, had a daughter in 2nd grade. We exchanged numbers, made plans for coffee. As she walked away, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. The future suddenly looked brighter than it had in a very long time.